Revolutionary greetings, comrades. Today, the 27th of December 2024, under the banner International Anti-Fascist Solidarity with Ukraine, in association with the Union of Immigrants and the Political Prisoners of Ukraine, we held a picket at the American Consulate in Sandton, Johannesburg. We were meant to present a memorandum, but for obvious reasons, there was no official at the United States Consulate in Sandton to receive the memorandum. I will read the memorandum. It says, "We are picketing the consulate today in protest against the deliberate provocation of Russia by NATO, leading to death and regret to both the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia, who lived in peace and harmony during the period of the USSR from 1922 to 1991, with the exception, of course, of the Great Patriotic War lasting from 1941 until 1945. During this period, some 4 million Ukrainian men and women served in the Red Army, and another 250,000 became partisans. In the extreme western provinces of Volhynia and Galicia, which had been part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and then part of Poland until 1940, there was a strong and a violent ethno-nationalist movement which enthusiastically joined forces with the Nazi invaders. This force was composed of around 200,000 men, their most prominent leader being Stepan Bandera. They were renewed for their cruelty. In 1944, this force, fleeing from the Red Army, was given safe haven by the USA, UK, and Canada. The USA and the UK then treacherously supported a guerrilla war in the western part of Ukraine until 1995 in order to destabilize their former ally, the USSR. After Ronald Reagan became president of the USA in 1981, the Holodomor myth was invented, which asserted that the famine of 1932 was deliberately aimed at the Ukrainian people by the Soviet government. In reality, there was sporadic drought which had occurred for hundreds of years in the territory of the Russian Empire. In 1932, the drought and resulting famine stretched from eastern Poland to Kazakhstan, and the rich peasants, the Kulkas, who had been controlling the food market in that year, destroyed the crops and the farm animals in opposition to the collectivization necessary to promote mechanization and the modernization of the agricultural sector. The Soviet government in this period offered to buy food from the Western countries using gold. This was refused. Following the counter-revolution of 1991, the Holodomor myth was used to promote the Orange Revolution. Despite this falsification of history used to create hatred of Russia among young Ukrainians, Viktor Yanukovych was democratically elected by the Ukrainian people in 2010, but because he saw the economic future of Ukraine being with Russia, was ousted by a violent coup in 2014. Victoria Nuland's war. It is fashionable in the CIA-controlled Western media to refer to the current conflict on the soil of Russia and Ukraine as Putin's war. Any student of history will know, however, that the main architect of this war was U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland. We should recognize, of course, that Nuland was not acting in isolation. She was acting in the interests of the U.S. military-industrial complex, warned about by President Eisenhower in his final presidential speech in 1961. International anti-imperialist solidarity with Ukraine, Africa, wishes to state here that we have no quarrel with the US people as a whole, but we reject economic, monetary, and military domination by the US government and the US-based monopoly capital in Ukraine and in Africa. Victoria Nuland and John McCain attended the Maidan Square rally of 2014, in which Banderist fascist groups played a major role. Nuland admitted that the USA spent $5 billion to promote democracy in Ukraine. Crimea and the Donbas republics of Donetsk and Lugansk broke away immediately after the establishment of the coup government. The Minsk Accords of 2014 to 2015 agreed that the People's Republic of Donetsk and the People's Republic of Lugansk should remain as autonomous republics within Ukraine. The Nazi groups controlling the army and the police refused even autonomy, and prior to the intervention of the Russian army in 2022, these republics stood alone. Crimea, which had been seeking unity with Russia from 1991, joined the Russian Federation in 2014, following an overwhelming referendum victory of more than 90% in favor in 2014. Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky was elected as president of Ukraine with 70% of the votes. He was elected on the promise of making peace with the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. He was then threatened with death by the fascist forces controlling Ukraine if he did such a thing. With the Ukrainian Nazis threatening the lives of all Russian speakers in Ukraine, and the USA and the NATO making it clear that they wanted to establish a nuclear base in Ukraine with weapons pointed at Moscow in 2022, President Putin gave the go-ahead for the special military operation aimed at bringing NATO and the Kyiv government to the negotiating table. This was done in Istanbul, Turkey, and a peace agreement signed in March 2014. This agreement was immediately torn up by British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Since then, the war has dragged on, with Russia showing its capabilities in the face of NATO. The destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline, quite obviously by US forces, has destroyed the economy of Germany. The economies of France, Britain, and other European nations are under severe stress due to Nuland's war. We have introduced a long historical narrative, as it is difficult to find any other conflict in history with such enormous falsification of factual evidence by Western media. Demands. We demand an immediate ceasefire followed by a peace settlement. The USA, as the leading country in NATO, has an obligation here. In addition, we as Africans demand the dissolution of AFRICOM and the removal of US troops from African soil. Amandla, comrades. Great salute.
Abantu shangongqiwa sefuna usetshenzela ngabantu.
Who else is from Aldo?
Akunamuntu ongaphatha umhlaba nayedwa. Umhlaba wonke ezandleni zabantu. Akunamuntu ongaphatha umhlaba nayedwa. Yesaba amagwala onqiwayo. Sebefuna ukusetshenzelwa